Wherever TerraBox is, I follow. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Japanese results and some TerraBox deck lists that I think are very interesting, and why I think TerraBox is actually going to succeed after the megas have been released. Well, that is for a few things. The reason the deck is consistent, it's very adaptable, and it has a lot of ways that it can change and adapt to the meta, and it's very, very flexible in the way it can be built. You know that I love TerraBox, and I play it very often to the point where I think it's just lost box for me now. It's to the point where whatever the format is, whatever the decks are, whatever the meta is, TerraBox has a way. It was said to be dead after we saw after the Worlds format, like during the Worlds format, it was terrible. It was not to be seen, and now all of a sudden it's been respected. We saw over at Monterrey and at Frankfurt, both of those events had a decent showing. In fact, I'm pretty sure it had the best conversion rate in Frankfurt. Going from, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the best conversion rate in Frankfurt going into day two. But that's not what we're talking about right now. For now, we are talking about the next format. A lot of people are saying that this is the end of the road. This is the curtain call. The deck is dead once the megas have been released. But I think not. I think there is a few reasons that it is not. First, let's take a look at two cards that I think really put the deck together and give it a reason to exist. First one is Mega Kangaskhan EX. Mega Kangaskhan EX is a basic EX Pokemon that is worth 3 price cards with a hefty 300 HP, so it is quite bulky. It has the ability, which is the main reason for its inclusion, which is Errand Dash. You may use this ability once during your turn. If this Pokemon is in an active spot, you may draw 2 cards. You can only use one of these abilities per turn. Welcome back, Flower Selecting, except it's just +2 cards. And then we've got the Attack Barrage combo, which honestly is not bad. 200 base, which is great, and then flip a coin until you get tails. For every heads, you do 50 extra damage. This is going to be a great... I'm going to lose unless I flip 4 heads gamble card, and I'm sure people are going to win games or lose games on Barrage combo. And the 200 base is really nice because, well, with a card like Vitality Band, or even with something like the Burn from Volcanion, you're doing 220 damage then, which is very nice because you're KOing Ogerpons, you're KOing Fez, and all of these little support Pokemon, you're KOing Mew regardless, and it's great, right? It's a basic Pokemon, which means the retreat cost doesn't really matter because Latias has that ability which can move the basic Pokemon wherever you really want. And the best thing is about this card is, let's say, for example, you're playing against Dragapult, and how do we usually lose to Dragapult? Well, Iono spam, right? And if we have Mega Kangaskhan on the bench, we have Mew EX on the bench. I mean, in the active, you have Mew EX on the bench and Fezandipity on the bench as well. If we get Iono to 1 card, we draw for turn. Let's say it's 2 dead cards. We get to Mew EX for +1 card. We get to Fezandipity for +3 cards. And we get to Kangaskhan for +2 cards. That is a +6 off of these abilities off of an Iono to 2. Then we've been Iono to, off of an Iono to 1. We've been Iono to 1, we've drawn for turn, and then we found 6 extra cards. We have 8 cards in our hand. And with TerraBox being one of those decks, it's like, I honestly really need one piece to get going. One piece! To get going, such as a Night Stretcher for an Noctowl or Ultra Ball for a Noctowl. And from there, you just get, like, Nest Balls for Clefairy plus Crispin or some shit like that. It is very good, right? Especially with the fact that it's not easy to remove. It has 300 HP. Dragapult can't just hit it for 200 and let it chill on the bench for a bit because it just has to Phantom Dive it again. It's not like the 60 can KO it. You have to commit a Dusk Noir and a Phantom Dive to it if you want to kill it. And at that point, you're trading 1 prize card for 3 prize card, which isn't bad, but considering the fact Dragapult's probably going down next turn, you're essentially trading 3 for 3, right? You're giving up 1 prize card for a 300 HP Pokemon, which you'll take 3 prize cards on, which is cool, but you're also giving up a prize card, right? So it's like, it essentially, in a way, it is still a 2 prize Pokemon in that matchup, in that sense. Another card that I think is going to be very good for Lost Box, TerraBox, is Mega Mawile EX. So Mega Mawile EX is one of those bulk Terras. I mean, dude, you just pretend I'm saying the right things, please. One of those bulk cards for the deck. But honestly, I think it's really good. So the first attack is a great closer. I think Ursaluna's gonna be jobless soon. I think Ursaluna's slowly becoming, you know, a bench sitter. Well, actually a binder sitter. But yeah, so Gobble Up great attack name, by the way, does 80 damage for each prize card we have already taken. Usually it's your opponent has already taken, but this is for every prize card we have already taken. And that's really good, because it means against Dragapult, when we get super aggressive and we go down to that 2 prize card scenario where they're still on 6, we're on 2, Gobble Up would be shit. But if it was your opponent's prize card, but it's for our prize cards, which is great, because now if we take 4 prize cards, we're doing 360 damage, which is insane. Because if we think about all the megas and stuff, all the big guys, 360 is honestly the perfect number to hit, which is an insane number. And then 260 is another great number, because what is the current meta? Gholdengo. 260 is a great number to hit. And now we have one of these Pokemon that is able to kind of do what Terapagos isn't able to do, just hit that little bit of a higher number, and then also be able to close out the game in the same kind of sense. And it is a bit of a higher attack cost. So it is unfortunately a double metal for the first attack and a double metal colorless for the other. So you'll see a lot of these lists incorporating more energy switches and obviously more metal energy for the fact that we can actually use this attack. So speaking of the deck lists, let's take a look at this one. It got 12th over in Japan at a City League. And I think this is honestly, if I was going to play a deck list for the upcoming format, this is something that I would very much so consider. So something you might notice is that it is lacking a Grass Ogerpon, and the only reason is because we are playing the double Glass Trumpet, and because Grass Ogerpon is a bit of a weirder way to deal with things such as Charizard and Grimmsnarl. That is why we use Iron Leaves, because Iron Leaves can come out of nowhere and we don't have to commit a Crispin to it. For example, we can have the Glass Trumpet attaching energy to a Hoothoot and a Hoothoot, and then we can use the Iron Leaves, bench that thing instantly, get the 2 energy off of these Hoothoots onto our guy, manual attach onto our guy, bring him into active, and then obviously swing for the knockout. So very, very good, very strong. And not only that, is that we also have Glass Trumpet with 3 energy switches, meaning we can get a lot more energy onto our Mega Mawile a lot more effectively, because obviously we have a lot of these colorless Pokemon that we can attach to. It's not just Terra Pokemon, it is any colorless Pokemon, which is super nice. So we can attach Metal Energy to a Fan Rotom, and then E-Switch off of the Fan Rotom onto our Mawile, and then Crispin for another Metal plus Grass onto our Mawile, and then bam, we've got 260. So very, very strong. Same thing with Pikachu, thanks to our more energy switches and Glass Trumpets. You'll be thinking, oh, we're not playing Rod. Well, that's because we don't really need Rod right now. The double Night Stretcher is honestly more so used for the Pokemon, to just grab the Pokemon back, whatever Pokemon we need back, and usually the only Pokemon we ever need back is like Noctowl, and then sometimes we'll grab Fez if that died early on, or we'll be grabbing like a Clefairy to reuse that towards the end of the game. We don't need to usually grab energies because we have the Glass Trumpets, right? So essentially think of Glass Trumpet as a Night Stretcher for the energy, and then Night Stretcher as a Night Stretcher for the Pokemon, right? As for the rest of the deck, very similar. Not much has changed. That's because the core of the deck is still, at heart, the exact same thing, right? We still have our Water Ogerpon being able to do our Water Ogerpon things, but people in Japan are slowly starting to respect Water Ogerpon a little bit more. So that's why you see we aren't including the double Water Ogerpon and have started to pivot to these other attacking options, such as the Pika, the Clefairy, and the double Megas, right? So this list doesn't really have a way for the Kangaskhan to hit that higher number, but that's fine. I think for now, using it as a 200 swing beat stick and also just a 300 HP big guy that's drawing us cards every turn is perfectly fine. And you got to remember that Volcanion, you have to push up Volcanion to the active to activate the ability, and then you have to get Kangaskhan into the active. So you're not actually drawing the 2 cards until you're committed to that Kangaskhan attack. So that can be a bit of a problem. Something that I would probably look at would be a switch in this deck if you do add the Volcanion, because then obviously Kangaskhan can be used a little bit more effectively, and also just the switch in Terra decks isn't a bad thing. We do have Iron Leaves, which counts as a pseudo switch in a way, and then we are playing the triple Area Zero, which is very nice. And then triple boss, because yeah, this is just a Gust deck at this point, especially since we don't have to commit as much resources to Crispin, and we have to commit our supported turn to Crispin as often as we would without the Glass Trumpets and the energy switches. So I think this deck is really good. I will be updating my Metafy guide, link below, on a list very, very similar to this. I've been working on a TerraBox list that is looking very, very similar to this, and I think that I'm going to be playing TerraBox in the future format, and I'm going to be going to a Champions League, and I might be playing TerraBox, you know? I think it's a very good pick. I think it's a really good deck, especially with decks committing more spaces to the Lily's Determination over the Iono, meaning we're gonna have, well, less worries, right? Less worries about getting disrupted. But if you are a little bit more vanilla, there is a more so vanilla list, which is this one over here. And this list is basically what you would see nowadays for TerraBox. The only thing that might be changed is like the higher energy switch counts. Japanese players really love these higher energy switch counts. This one's also playing the Cornerstone Ogerpon for the Charizard and the Goldengo matchup as well, alongside the Zoroark matchup, because Zoroark has been picking up a little bit in popularity in Japan as well. Not too sure why, because it doesn't actually have that good of a matchup spread right now. But yeah, you'll see that this one is running only the 70 HP Hootoots. Unfortunately, right now, I don't really like to say it, but I think that having at least one, maybe even two 80 HP Hootoots could be correct. You're not running Buddy Poffin right now, and honestly, the 80 HP Hootoot isn't that bad, as 99% of the games you want Latias in play because of the Kangaskhan anyway, and you'll see that these decks are slowly pivoting, well, not really slowly pivoting, have already pivoted towards the higher counts of Area 0, both lists playing 3. Usually you would see like a 2-to-1 split, with the one either being Jamming or Grav Mountain. But the thing is, right now, it's just we need the like higher number of bench for the Kangaskhan and stuff, and honestly, the Jamming Tower just doesn't do as much as it used to, and the Gravity Mountain isn't as needed as it was before. I feel like your Guardy matchup, like, it's just not a good matchup regardless, right? You just kind of give up at a certain point with that matchup, and you just kind of go on towards other things, but then you just think, oh, right, you know, maybe Gardevoir isn't as bad, as we now have an actual way to deal with it towards the end of the game. The big problem in TerraBox in that matchup was we didn't have a good way to close out Guardy at the end of the game. They would just swing with a Guardy, and we just sit there like, okay, well, yeah, we can attack with Pikachu, but then we have to discard everything. Whereas now we have a Mawile that can close out the game with the Guardy, right? And all we have to do is take 4 prize cards, which isn't that difficult. In fact, taking the 4 prize cards is the easy thing. That is the nice. Taking the last 2, oh la la, right? If you guys find a way to do it, then let me know, because right now I am only looking towards this girl over here. But another deck that I was kind of seeing pop up a lot more was not really Terra, but Ogre-Box. Ogre-Box has been seeing quite a bit of play over in Japan just because of how consistent and aggressive it is, and this is the list that is able to abuse the, incredibly powerful Lily's card, Lily's Determination. And this card is really, really good for a number of reasons. I don't have to explain it again. If you guys want to know why it's so good, go watch my Dragapult video. I explain it there. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have a video on Lily's itself. But yeah, we play Double Ends Plan, which just is more energy switches, which is not bad, because we playing quad Teal Mask Ogerpon, and then you'll think, oh, but how are we, what Pokemon in this deck is dealing damage, right? I don't know. We don't really have a Pokemon that's dealing damage, because you know what we're lacking? A stadium. We're lacking Area 0. You'd think that, oh, you know, this deck definitely plays like 3 to 4 Area 0s. No, it doesn't, because where is the Area 0s? If I was playing this deck, I would definitely play at least 2 Area 0s, right? So that your Clefairy can actually swing for some real numbers. Otherwise, you're kind of depending on early game Water Ogerpon and fighting Ogerpon to disrupt everything else, and then Clefairy to do something every once in a while. I would definitely have at least like 2 Area 0 in this list. But I think this deck is also really good. Obviously, it isn't playing like a support engine. The support engine is kind of just Teal Mask Ogerpon, please draw me cards, and Lily's Determination, please set me up. And I feel like sometimes that's enough, right? I feel like this deck is also incredibly consistent, probably more so than Terra, but I think the matchup spread is nowhere near as good as Terra. And obviously the amount of options you have is minimized due to the fact that you're kind of limited to these attackers over here. And I'm not gonna lie, looking at these attackers, you're limited very much so by the numbers, right? Like, I mean, sure, you can like genome hacking in specific matchups and close out games with Ursaluna, but the fact is, if you aren't able to get to the stage where you're going to close out the games, how are you going to close out games? I mean, we can use Ursaluna, like, you know, a little bit more aggressively because of the End's plan and Energy Switch, and maybe that's why we don't play the Area Zero. But honestly, I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of experience in this version of the list. I've played probably like 20 games total of Ogre Box, but yeah, that's another list. For now, that is all for today. Grab the Medify guide below because I don't have a sponsor yet. If you guys are willing to sponsor the channel, hit me up, DM me, and I will be forever grateful.